Welcome, Rich. It's phenomenal to have you with me here for a private conversation, just you and I.
Yes, we agreed. We're going to assume that nobody is here. This is completely private. We get to say whatever we want, play however we want.
Totally, totally. And I think it is, I called it Audacious Conversations because I know you and I were talking. For me, it's Audacity. For you, it's adventure. It's just different language for more or less the same. It's having fun.
Well, we both live a very bold life, and bold can be defined in different ways by different people. But for me, it means doing things that scare me a little. If I'm not doing something that scares me a little, I'm not playing the game I want to play. I'm not living the life I want to live. And I think that's you too.
Yeah, totally. And I know, I had a little introduction in terms of, my intention for my LinkedIn lives when I set it up about 18 months ago is to have conversation with people who inspire me. And you certainly are one of them. You've been a true inspiration over many years for me now. And the audience, we don't know who's in the audience. I always say you don't need an introduction, but truly you don't. You have been my coach for many years, and we were talking about me coming on your podcast and having both dreams manifested. The first one was the book, and the second one was you bringing the 4PC over to Transylvania, which happened about 2 weeks ago.
So let me explain that for anyone who does listen to this. Yeah, I've coached you for years, and I have the privilege of getting to mess with your thinking. That's what I do. I work with very talented, high-performing individuals, the kind of people most people would say, why do they need a coach? And then I get to mess with their thinking. And twice you've been on my podcast when you brought along a challenge, and I played with you. And each time something cool happened in the world. The first time you created this book about Audacity that's gone out into the world, that's selling really well, that brings the heart of what you do and believe out into the world. And then you had this dream of turning a hotel that you own into something that is a retreat center for leaders and coaches and transformational workers. And it's now a thing. We've just come back from taking 30 members of my community, also very talented, driven, high agency people. And we've been at your retreat center in Romania.
You haven't. I'm smiling away because someone said recently they didn't even realize we're talking about Transylvania and having been to Transylvania. And she said, "Oh, so you've been to Transformania?" And I thought, I'm going to catch that in a bottle. Yes, there is Transformania. This is where people transform. So, no, absolutely.
So we were playing before this conversation started. What should we talk about? What are my values about being audacious and yours? And I said, you know what? I've just realized I'm a really good podcast guest. I get invited all the time to do interviews, and I've stopped doing interviews because there are a million people who do interviews. What I bring that's unique is I'm a coach to really highly talented, audacious people, and I'm going to refuse to do interviews and only do coaching sessions with people. If I'm on their podcast, I'll coach them. So I said to you, well, what if we turn the tables and suddenly, without any planning for either of us, what if today I coach you? The last two times you've been on my podcast, you created what was a tiny seed into a big dream and reality in the world. Well, let's play.
Let's play. That feels like turning the tables, and that feels very audacious. But hey ho, we are on this audacious conversation, so I am playing along.
So what's on your mind in this moment?
Well, it's interesting. What's on my mind is it's just going back to what we just said, which speaking something out in the open and then manifesting it. It's literally having that impossible dream, as someone would call it, then becoming a reality. So for me, the next big thing, having brought the 4PC to Transylvania, which seemed impossible 2 years ago, is transforming that place, which you now know because you've seen it, you've experienced it, into truly the center of excellence that my dad dreamt about, which is having leaders, exceptional leaders, coming in and out throughout the year for their own community transformation. I suppose it's doing what you did with your community, and I don't even know. Well, it doesn't feel possible right now as I'm sitting here, but
So I'm really curious about that. Tell me, because so 20 years ago, your dad had a dream of building a hotel. Didn't make sense, didn't exist. Where will it be? You scoured Romania, decided that this place near to Dracula's castle will be a great place. He literally built it with his own hands almost, and what's now a hotel. It didn't exist at one point. What didn't exist at one point was this was a place for people to create transformational experiences. I know you've done this with some of your clients, and now we've taken my clients there as well. You're calling this an impossible goal. It doesn't feel very impossible to me as I observe who you are and what you've already created. So, a bit more of this, some more of your clients, some more of other people who are in the transformational world, from coaches to consultants to leaders to thought leaders. What's so impossible about that?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it just feels still very big and very wide. And you're right. I have brought my own clients there, although based in London and bringing them from Europe 3.5 hours away is. I do it twice a year. Doing it more than twice, it still feels like a stretch. Interestingly, for all sorts of reasons. I think for me, the next level up will be to have people who just don't know me, maybe, and they've somehow find out about it in a different way. So that feels impossible. We do have, again, for the audience purposes, my dad built this hotel 20 plus years ago. It became a family hotel, and now my sister runs it. So my sister does have the Romanian market. So the hotel is used for yoga retreats, for writing retreats, book writing. So there are, various things, but it's not yet. This is still at that sort of seeding level. It's not used just for that. And I suppose that's where the dream is, where it will become known for just that, for a center of excellence of leaders just coming and using it when they want to.
Well, let me push you a little bit. What if there was a bigger dream behind that? What if that wasn't really the impossible dream? What if there was something really extraordinary behind that you hadn't even thought of until now?
God, you're going to have to help me there, Rich, in terms of, I mean, there is something which could be bigger than that, which I haven't spoken to, and that is expanding it even more, because there's a piece of land that I bought a few years ago. And it's literally, you and I talked about that I think on the last podcast, and I still haven't. Maybe that's bigger. Maybe that is, again, the whole building. And I know we talked about not building, but just bringing things on it. It scares me. It really does. The idea of making a foundation in the ground. I don't even want to go there.
Tell me more about that. What scares you? Investing at this moment in time, being involved in the logistics of a building project. What is it? What actually scares you?
Oh God, all of the above. I think I've got this sort of, some would call it limiting belief, having been through construction projects that they take time, energy, they go well over budget. You budget it and they go 3 times over. The labor, the craftsmanship, all of that. And somehow I just think I don't have the time, the energy, to go through that process all over again. So the impossible dream would be, as we said, it's just like it's built somewhere else and it just comes and it's just delivered and put on the land. So none of that messiness. I suppose that's what's coming up. I just don't, the idea of having noise and messiness and all of that.
Well, you were with me when we went to Curacao, because one of my other clients owns a hotel in Curacao, and they were building an extension to that hotel with prefabricated units that looked astonishing and were effortless to build. There was no massive building project. These were prefabricated.
True. And actually, we're sort of talking about that this weekend, about that, exactly that. And still, there is something. I know it's possible, and part of me says it's still impossible. There is a stumbling block there, but I can picture it, the prefabricated, as you said, to make it within the space there is.
So here's what I hear and here's what I know. What I know about you is you've got a track record since about 18 years old that when you set your mind on something, you accomplish it. It may turn out that it's slightly different to the way you visioned it in the first place, but whatever you put your mind on in the past has become a reality.
Mm-hmm.
Is there truth in what I just said?
Yeah, there's absolutely a lot of truth. And again, I'm just sort of smiling sitting here for people who don't know us, but you have coached me for the last 5 years in learning to say no. And what I've also learned about saying no is actually you cannot say no without knowing what you say yes to. And it was actually, I think Kasia said that during our retreat. It was one of the statements that she made, that you need to be able to know your yes in order to say your no. And I'm still struggling with saying the no's, because I know if I put my mind to it, as you said, there's going to have to be lots of other no's that will come with it to really immerse myself into a big project like this with my heart.
So what I'm hearing right now is that you know the truth of what I just said. That when you put your mind to something, put your heart into something, it happens no matter what. And one of the reasons you get nervous about this project is, in order to be what I would call a hell yes, you're going to have to be not just a no, but a hell no to a lot of other things. And that makes you nervous. You're one of the most generous people I've ever met, Alina.
Thank you. Yes, and I know that in my heart. And I also know that in my heart that I would, truly, I think for my next 10 years, I wouldn't want you and I to have this conversation in 10 years and not having had that project completed, actually.
So let me mess with your thinking for a second. Your generosity is selfish.
Tell me more.
If you create this center of excellence for learning and leadership, you will draw together some of the most extraordinary thought leaders, coaches, and consultants on the planet. They'll be running events that impact leaders who go out and have a massive ripple in the world. If you're not able to say, my generosity is focused on that one mission and nothing else for the next 3 years, then each time you're generous to this person asks for some help, to that person that asks for some help, this mission is going to take 5 years or 10 years, or it will never finish, or it will never start. Your generosity is going to hold you back from the most generous project you could ever create.
Yes, and I feel that. I feel that to be true. And yet, of course, part of me says, I know that, Rich, and I know you're right, and I know that here, and I know that even in my heart, you're right, not just at a mental level. And yet, as we sit here today, it still feels like a massive project.
Well, hang on a sec. We're not going there yet. We're not going there yet. Like you're not. We've got to get you to the first sale that you're in, and you're not in yet because you're still you're worried about, is it a big project? Alina, you've accomplished things that most people on the planet could never accomplish. Really, became the head of trading at Rothschild's, decided to write a book, it became a bestseller, it's been on airport bookshelves, decided to be involved in building a hotel when it made no sense. Whatever you put your mind to, built a coaching and consulting practice for high-level leaders. None of these things were possible before you started. And you've accomplished all of them. So as I look at you over here, so I'm not coming from your way of looking at the world. Over here, as I observe you, I think out of all the people I know, you're right at the top of the list for people when they set their mind on accomplishing something extraordinary, they're going to accomplish it. I have no doubt. It's that desire you have to be generous to so many people that's going to hold you back from creating this project that will change the lives of leaders across the planet. So until you're in, like, this is a mission that's bigger than me. And so I can be a gracious no to any request because unless it's moving this project forward, I have to be a gracious no to it. Until that, nothing's going to happen. Then we can come to logistics. How do you make it happen effortlessly? How do you handle contractors who are going to take more time and more money? That's secondary.
Yes. Yes. No, I hear you. I hear you. That commitment. And it's interesting, that sort of commitment to something that's bigger than me and what's currently here. Because that is, and again, I think it's interesting as you go, or as I go through sort of second half of my life. Of course, I've run my first half through risk taking, and see, it's interesting. I don't call it adventure for me. That's too playful. It's another story for another day. Not allowing myself to be more playful, but it's the risk. It feels that I have to commit myself to taking risks when there is not that long to look forward to, interestingly. So that's what's coming up for me. Taking a risk for another 10 years.
What do you mean it's not that long to look forward to?
Yeah, it's just sort of, and it's just this, when you're in your 20s and 30s and you've got your life ahead of you, that's in a way, when you're in your 50s, it doesn't feel that way anymore. And even as I'm saying it out loud, it's like, Alina, what are you talking about? But it's not
I'm not buying into your story. I'm going to catch this one fast because I'm also in my 50s and I'm not buying into this one. One of my mentors, Dan Sullivan, does an exercise that he calls the lifetime extender. Mm-hmm. And he asks entrepreneurs, how long are you going to live? And they freak out. What do you mean? And he says, everyone knows. Everyone's got a number. Mm-hmm. Either, your mum or your dad died at a certain age, or you just made up a story about everyone's got a number where they're going to live to. And then he asks them, well, are you taking care of yourself? Are you working out? Are you eating good food? What if you kind of got even better at that? Could you live longer? And everyone realizes, yeah, I could live 5 years, 10 years, 20 years longer than my number. And so I have a number. I'm living to 133. That's the number I've picked. Now, is that a true number? I don't know. But when Dan Sullivan was once challenged on this, somebody said, so this is just a mindset exercise. It's not true. Your lifetime extender is just the way you're thinking. And he said, yeah, but everyone's thinking they're going to live to a certain age. And it becomes true because we think it's true. So I consciously, Alina, look for stories in the press about people who live a very long age, people who are super healthy. I don't read obituaries of people who die young. I'm not letting that into my world. Will it mean I live a longer life? I don't know. But I'm choosing to think in terms of living an extraordinary long life. And I really caught that from you. Wow, you've got a ticking clock here.
And I just love that insight, Rich, talking about, because it's interesting. It's like I'm hearing my dad. My dad is just short of 80. I think he'll be 80 in a year time. But that's why he says, oh, Alina, I'm going to live until I'm 132. I think he's got something above 130, very jokingly. But he really means it. It's like, ha. So yes, because, before you told me the full story, I was like, oh, what would be my number? And then it's like the easy one. It will be the sort of 80s, because I know my parents are reaching that. So that will be realistic, I suppose. So for me, it's like, okay, I've just still got over, just under 30. So it's achievable to still.
Well, so hang on a sec. That's based on, right? Do you remember when we were kids? When we were kids, people in their 50s and 60s were ancient. And they died. Because back when we were kids, people didn't take care of themselves. They didn't have access to the health and medication that we do. Mm-hmm. So our parents' generation are living to their 80s and 90s, but we're not our parents' generation. Peter Diamandis, who's an exponential thinker and thought leader, says, don't die of something stupid in the next 10 years, because the amount of medical initiatives and ingenuity that's coming online right now has the possibility to extend our lifetime in all sorts of ways. So even if you're right and you live to your 80s, that's 30 years, dude. What are you going to do for those next 30 years? Sit on your couch watching Netflix? Or have a project that's a 30-year mission? I mean, you're talking to a man, you're in my community, right? My community, 4PC, I created it 11 years ago, a community of the most extraordinary coaches on the planet. It's my 25-year mission. Oh, in fact, I have it on here. I've only just moved to London and don't have much stuff in this office, but I took the plates from my car and it says 4PC 25 because I'm committed for 25 years to be on this mission. And so what if you created a 30-year mission right now? You don't have to worry about contractors finishing in 3 years or 5 years. You don't care. You're in a 30-year mission to create a center of excellence for leaders around the planet. Now there's a mission.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Yeah, and that, even if you say that, that just really just drops much lighter in my body. Because, you know, you and I were talking about, yes, you know, and it's a 30-year project that I can take, even as a legacy, you know, just passing it down. But yes, that feels very exciting, audacious and exciting.
That's the power, I think, of a goal that's years into the future. It actually takes the pressure off.
Totally. And it's nice to take that pressure off, because otherwise, you know, we sort of feel like in the pressure cooker. You know, that's certainly a lot of my own clients, and I'm sure yours. Is that sensation of being, and that's definitely not something that I will want to create or recreate, for sure.
So I'm much more interested now from this place to hear what's the purpose of this place that you want to create? Because I'm speaking it into reality over here, and I haven't heard you speak it the same way. I'm talking about the world's most extraordinary leaders, a place for training and learning and collaboration between world-class leaders. But that's over here. What do you see?
Well, the same, but it's interesting. Part of me, as you speak, and you talked about the 4PC and your 25-year commitment, which is amazing. It's been always very inspiring. And I'm in the 5th year, which, again, you and I were talking. I actually generally thought I'm going to come in for a year and I would have learned everything I need to, and then I'm done. Despite of you saying you need to commit to 3 years, that's part of it, and it's an unwritten commitment, but that's just been your and having experienced it, I know how powerful, you know, really it is. So, but it's also the intimacy. So your 4PC is 30 people. The hotel currently only has 22 rooms. I think we could expand it by another 10, 15. So it's going to be an intimate place. And that's what I love about. That's the realizations that I've had in my last 12 months is how much I do love the intimacy, you know, just going deeper rather than wider. So absolutely, I think I'm going to have to re-watch it to catch what you just said about the...
So I'll say it again and I'll capture what you said. What I envisage here as I hear you speaking it is this is a center of excellence, your father's dream. Like that was 20 years ago. So now we're creating a 50-year, 2-generation legacy and vision. Now that's powerful. That's the story you tell. Mm-hmm. That's what enrolls people in coming. Hey, if you come and visit us, this is part of a 50-year plan. Who thinks that way? A 50-year vision. 20 years ago for my father, next 30 years for me. And a center of excellence for leaders who have a big impact on the planet. But it's about depth and intimacy. We're not trying to scale this. We're not trying to turn this into a hotel that's got 1,000 rooms. It will always be about depth and intimacy and a vision 50 years into the future.
I love that. And that's going to be the motto for sure. And that's an easier, not easier, but that feels really aligned. And when you just said a 50-year commitment, you know, you and I were with 4PC at NASA in March this year, and that was what that was all about. It's a 50 to 100-year commitment into the future.
So for anyone who doesn't know, my friend is a leader at NASA. I took my community to visit the JPL, the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. And John has to think 50 to 100 years into the future, because any spacecraft he creates now will still be traveling that far into the future. And it inspired those of us who have 5-year and 10-year visions. Imagine what it would be like to create a 50-year vision. Well, that's what I just heard you do.
Yes. And I love that. I think that with that sort of mindset. And I suppose for the people who are here, the interesting thing, you know, Rich, and it's my practical mind, because that's one of the things I admire the most about you, is having created this community, which I've been very fortunate to be part of over the last, more than 5 years. It's been probably about 7 years. And then how do you do that? What's your secret sauce?
Well, I think it starts with the vision. It really does. You're in it for something bigger than you. You're in it for something that's going to make a real difference in the world. If I could, if you extracted the DNA from any of the cells in my body, the word impact would be there, because that's all I'm about. I want to make an impact in the world. And I do it in every single conversation. I'm about impact through intimacy and depth too. That's why I had this idea. How about I coach you today? Instead of just talking about what audacious means to me, let's play with it. And I've drawn out your audacious goal. And so I had a vision that I'm in for 25 years. The great thing about a big vision, a 25-year, 30-year vision, is that you don't need to know what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't need to know what's going to happen in 5 years' time. You just know you're in it for the long haul, and everything shifts. And you draw extraordinary people to you because you have such a powerful vision. People feel that. It's unusual, Alina. It's enrolling. So you'll enroll people in this mission because you'll tell them this story. It's powerful.
Thank you. And yeah, it is. You're right. It's the power of the story. And again, this is one of the things that we both learned in Transylvania this time around, because we went to see the Dracula castle. And although I heard it before, it didn't land as much as it did this time. That it's a tiny, winny castle, nothing really special, but it's the Bram Stoker's story that made it famous. And then you have the biggest castle in the world, which I didn't know, which is in Poland. It's insignificant. Nobody knows about it and architecturally, and I think it's even a UNESCO site. Nobody has heard. There is no story linked to it. And that's what it is. It's just having the story that goes with it, how powerful that is.
So what I've done today is help draw out that story for you. You're beginning to feel it right now. You're resonating in that story. It's the story you'll tell. Hey, this is part of a 50-year vision. Goes back 20 years to my father's crazy dream, 30 years into the future to my crazy dream. And behind that, you will have to get really clear, Alina, as one of the most generous people I know, that your generosity is focused on this mission, which will mean you have such a powerful and empowering yes. It becomes easier to say no, because you're not saying no. You can say, well, if this helps this mission, I'm in. And if not, there'll be someone else who will support you. It's not me right now. I'm on a mission.
Yeah, I love that. And I will reframe it as such. And then I know you and I haven't, we're not going to go into the practicality, but yes, I think once that vision is there, it's going back to how we're going to make this possible now. What's the first small step?
No. I'm going to slow you down for a second, because we're at time. So, but this is not how I coach. I don't need to. When I coached you around this idea for a book, I didn't then say, okay, come on, let's work together to turn it into a 17-step plan. What are you going to do? When we work together on anything you have that you dream into the world, the vision is what counts. You'll work out all the rest. You'll handle all the details, or you'll find other people who can help you with that. But you got to get in touch first with this dream so that it is resonating from every single cell of your being. From there, it will take care of itself.
Totally. Well, that's my commitment to you, I think. Well, let's see. I don't know what our sort of cycle seemed to be, 6 months to 2 years. So we'll give this a little bit more, and then we can celebrate. Talking about, I know, and this is me, one of the things I've learned from you is it's not boasting if it's true, but I loved having the 4PC community in the hotel this time. And it's the other thing that you and I were talking about is it's the 3-year, you wanting to convert it into a 7-year, which is very enrolling, by the way. And then when you asked, going from a 3-year to a 7-year commitment for 4PC, quite a lot of hands went up in our own community. And the other thing is, I think a lot of people enjoyed, and you said to me, Alina, I never do the same intensive in the same place. So my claim would be that we would go back there 27, who knows, 2027, 2028, and then the containers will be there. So it will be a completely different experience for you and the 4PC.
So your job will be to enroll us in that. Your job will be to tell us the story. Hey, listen, this started on a LinkedIn live call where I created a vision spans 50 years and 2 generations at least.
Totally.
That's very enrolling.
That's what's going to happen. So no, but thank you so much, Rich. Thank you. I suppose we are at time. It's been such a pleasure to have you. I mean, this is started as a sort of 4PC experiment and playfulness with James and Mandy, 2 members of the 4PC, and to have you come here, especially after Transylvania, has been very special. So
thanks, Alina. Thanks for trusting me too.
No, thank you. And actually, I genuinely cannot wait to see what happens with the sort of 7-year enrollment, the 4PC, me being part of it. So thank you. Thank you. We'll say goodbye for you now. And to everybody, I think we had a few people who said hello to us. We'll respond to them once we're off. Thank you.